Greetings to readers, viewers, and listeners, and welcome to this next edition of the Autistic Superblog's The Hot Take. This one is a little bit late, I'll admit, but I wanted to take some time to address the passing of the late great Hulk Hogan. Um, there's one podcast I like to listen to on YouTube called Saw Monster. Saw Monster sounds off. So I'd like to you guys to check that out too because he actually made a lot of great points that I absolutely agree with when it comes to the bad stuff and the good stuff when it comes to Hulk Hogan. So I want to just explain this because I realize that it's complicated to explain to differentiate the good part of Hulk Hogan with the bad part of Hulk Hogan, the controversial one. But I'm gonna go to I'm gonna go to when I was to when I first grew up as a wrestling fan. I want to say like 1993. I started watching wrestling when Hulk Hogan was leaving. So I did not have a I only knew him as the NWO. I knew of his legacy as I knew of his legacy in the red and yellow before that, but that was only in seeing him in videos, in videos in like video stores. Yes, there are video stores in that particular regard, but I want to just explain that Hulk Hogan, as a wrestling fan, as a professional wrestling fan, I mean, you can't say that he didn't do a lot of good things. He did. Like he did a lot of good things for wrestling. He brought it into the mainstream. Whereas before in the 1980s, wrestling was always shown as something that was like carny. It was like niche. It was like something that catered to catered to only a small audience. Whereas with where it is now, where it's a global audience. And I could only say that as someone who watched wrestling shows of him, like in the professional wrestling vault. So I want to just get to like watching him at WrestleMania 3, um watching him um slam Andre the Giant. That was my first thoughts of him, and I thought it was amazing. But then I actually got a chance to see him in a video at WrestleMania 1 and then 2, kind of seeing his journey from that point of view. And from that point of view, I could absolutely see that there was a lot of good things when it comes to Hulk Hogan as a wrestling fan. Like he actually built up the wrestling business to where it is right now, where it's global and it's live and and it's exciting and it still is. It definitely is exciting. But I'm just saying, in the 1980s, he took it to where it is now because of Hulk Hogan, and you can't distance yourself from that point of view. To me, that's the reason why Hulk Hogan has a monumental feeling in my mind as a wrestling fan because I got to know him through videos, through DVDs, through all those things. But then I also go back to Hulk Hogan in WCW and what he did for the NWO, how he revitalized his career because of that. Um, and it really is something to see. It really was. Like I grew up. I mean, if I wasn't a wrestling fan in 1993, I definitely was around 96, 97, 98. That's the peak for me. Because you had this wrestling war. You had Hulk Hogan being a bad guy with the NWO, with Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and all these different things that you really needed to see for yourself. I mean, he really was a larger than life character, and for that, I will always I will always consider myself a Hulkamaniac and a wrestling fan. Um, when it comes to music, when it comes to theme music, Hulk Hogan, Real American, it was just amazing. And then Voodoo Child with WCW later on. The reason I bring these up is that how many of us culturally could say that wrestling was a cultural phenomenon because of the music, because of the presentation, because of everything that went on. Um, I actually think that it's something that you can't take away from him, from Hulk Hogan and his legacy, even with all the controversial racist stuff that has come on in his past. I mean, when it comes to what's been going on, what controversies surrounded him, and then seeing him in his last public appearance, seeing him on Netflix live right here on. I remember watching him here in my bedroom when I was watching him on Netflix during the Raw Netflix premiere, and that's kind of the whole situation I had too. I mean, I wanted to say that on a personal level, as a wrestling fan, I'm very much grateful for Hulk Hogan and the impact and what he did for me as a wrestling fan. Now, I wanted to explain just I mean how I mean I've always considered myself like a wrestling fan, but I've also heard like horror stories of people wanting people to sign things and selling them on eBay. I mean, we've heard the CM Punk pipeline in this particular point. So I wanted to say that I've never wanted to be like that. I've always wanted to give wrestlers their space because I've always had this long-standing policy that they're there to enjoy themselves, not to be catered to some obsessive fans. And there are obsessive fans in the wrestling business um, that don't. I mean that don't enjoy wrestlers for who they are as regular people, and that's certainly true too. But I can remember before they had an International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, which is over in Albany at the MVP Arena. The two things that really stand out for me as a wrestling fan um, is being able to see Hulk Hogan on SmackDown before No Way Out to 2003. Like seeing him before The Rock and Hogan were to go up again at WrestleMania at No Way Out, and just being there for that for Hulk Hogan's comeback, and it was just amazing to see. I mean, everywhere you look, it was loud, it was proud, and it was absolutely amazing to see. Like, that's one of the things that, for me as a wrestling fan, I felt was amazing to see because of that fact that even after he lost, um, even though he came back and returned and came back and returned, um, even with all those things, the memory was still fond of the impact that Hulk Hogan had in the wrestling industry. This, of course, was leading up to WrestleMania 19 when it was Hulk Hogan versus Mr. McMahon at Seattle. Um, so I'm just trying to give like a bit of a backstory. I remember being there and it was loud. The only thing I can really compare it to is when Stone Cold Steve Austin um, came to confront Mr. McMahon after he won the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 14 at the WrestleMania after the Raw after WrestleMania, which was in the MVP Arena in Albany, and that's one of the things I remember about that too. The other thing I remember about it being able to watch his wrestling matches, like I mentioned, Hulk Hogan and Andre, but I'm also talking like Hulk Hogan and The Rock, Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior, um, and other things too. And it just really just cemented in me just how important Hulk Hogan is to the wrestling business. So that's gonna do it for my tribute to Hulk Hogan. I I try to do the best I can with what I had. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you like these videos, dear readers and viewers and listeners, please check me out here on the Autistic Super channel on YouTube. You can check me out on social media. I'm on Facebook, X, social media, um, X, Blue Sky, all that stuff. You can check me out, and you can check out all my videos on the autisticsuperblog.wordpress.com. Until next time, dear readers and viewers and listeners, stay safe, stay strong, and as always, shine on.